I kind of raised my eyebrow just at the idea of kids taking these GLP-1 drugs. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to give a confession. I was a heavyset kid myself. I used to shop, we called them the husky section here in the U.S., but my parents just kind of let me outgrow it. There's only about a year's worth of trial data for kids, only as young as 12 for these GLP-1 drugs. Do you really believe that parents would put their kids on these drugs? Is this the next growth area?
Yeah, I mean, great question. I think, this is certainly drugs that are not for everybody. And I think that physicians are going to be much more discriminating in those younger populations. But I think, exactly to the point that the doctor made in the clip that you just aired, we really need to think about these drugs as preventative medicine, right? Because we know the consequences of untreated obesity, heart disease, liver disease, things like that. And so what we're hearing from doctors more and more is treat obesity early and you don't get things like type 2 diabetes.
Okay. So that's when it comes to kids. When we're talking about the adult population, how much more widespread do you see these drugs really getting? Yesterday, we had the CEO of a big gym chain on, and he believed that these GLP-1 drugs are actually complementary to some parts of the fitness business because you don't just take them and lose weight. You do have to stay active. You do have to eat right.
Oh, absolutely. And, with a lot of the, programs that offer weight loss medications, you do see also, diet counseling, things like that. And the doctors that we speak to think you really should be taking a holistic approach towards managing obesity and all of the side effects that come with that. But we really think that this will be the largest pharmaceutical class ever. We're out there saying we think it could be $100 billion over the next decade. And in terms of how that translates over the next few years, it's really going to be how fast can they make these things? Let's talk about supply.
Really? That's very interesting. Okay, so you cover a number of drugs in this space. Eli Lilly, you have that at overweight. AstraZeneca, also overweight. Roche at equal weight. And then Novo Nordisk at overweight. They're coming up. They're having their investor day. What are you expecting? What kind of announcements related to weight loss drugs are you expecting?
Yeah, so I think the thing that we're really focused on for Novo's CMD next week is any updates on the earlier stage pipeline. Are they going to talk about things that they have going on in a pill form? Obviously, because we know Ozempic and Wegovy are shots that you take once a week. And then, of course, we're going to have questions on supply. Novo Holdings is doing this deal to purchase Catalent, which is a drug manufacturer. They are still ongoing with closing that deal. So probably not too specific comments, but really pipeline and supply, I think, are what investors are going to be focused on.
It's interesting that you're talking about pipeline and supply. Catalent was very involved in distributing the vaccines all around the country. I actually talked to them quite a bit when I was covering that. So it's interesting that they're looking to buy a company that has that level of capabilities. Before we let you go, I want to talk to you about two companies. I know you don't specifically cover them, but Viking Therapeutics and Zealand. They had some news this week. Are these smaller companies, are they at all a risk to these bigger companies that we just mentioned where you're mostly overweight?
Yeah, I mean, great question. And so how we've always been thinking about this market for at least the last few years is it's going to get more competitive, right? These are the biggest markets. And of course, more companies are going to try to catch up to Novo and Lilly. But we do think that those two leaders have such a great advantage so far that the Viking data and the Zealand data, they look kind of comparable in some ways to what Novo and Lilly are selling right now. But Novo and Lilly are actually already in phase 3 with the next generation drugs. And for example, Novo's next generation drug, CagriSema, they've promised a 25% floor for weight loss. And we'll see data on that later this year.